Hey everyone, Aniela here with Cancer Grad, and we are talking today about the fear of reoccurrence. The fear that keeps you in bed under your covers, not wanting to get up sometimes. So that's why I'm in bed today talking about this. I thought it would be a fun spot for it. Um, so, Hey Nora. Nora has joined. We have a couple people with us already, so I guess we'll get right into this. Fear of reoccurrence. Now, oh gosh, you can see me already taking a breath. This is an intense topic. I'm figuring out where to look. Sorry, guys. Hey, Hyrule. This is an intense topic for so many of us. Now, we have our Cancer Grad community quad, those of you who want to join, and in that, this topic has come up as one of the biggest fears that we all have. One of the biggest things that everyone wants to talk about is the fear of reoccurrence. And yesterday, there was a leader in our breast cancer community, Nali, was just diagnosed with a reoccurrence. And that's what prompted today's Wisdom Wednesday. She's incredible. Those of you who have not seen her, go to nalie.ca to see her journey. I know it's going to be raw and honest, and she is absolutely incredible. But she had a cough, and next thing you know, she has metastatic breast cancer. And that is how we kind of start into dealing with a cancer reoccurrence. It's figuring out what your triggers are. So I would love to know, I'm going to log into, I have my notes on my computer, so pardon my looking down. I think it's really important for us to know what our triggers are when this happens. What causes you to feel more anxious than other times? So stress of reoccurrence, fear of reoccurrence is a normal thing, all right? Don't feel like you're the only one who's afraid of this and everyone else is completely cool with their cancer and they're just moving on. No, we all fear this. Whether it's somebody who's been diagnosed and cancer-free for 10 years or somebody who's a year out. I'm about 2 years out now, and I am super freaked out about this. And that fear goes down, it lessens as time goes. But there are certain things that will trigger it, and all of a sudden it'll just balloon up again. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way at all. It is completely normal. So ways for us to combat this, that's what we're talking about, is first is figuring out, again, what your triggers are. Some triggers, I would love to write your triggers down if you know what they are. Some people, their triggers are a date. If it's a date of their original diagnosis, that can be a trigger. And it's something that a lot of times you don't even realize. You'll often be like, why am I feeling so bad right now? And you won't even know why. And then all of a sudden if you look at the calendar, you go, oh, that was the date of my cancer. And that's a trigger. That can be a trigger. If you have a scan coming up or a doctor's appointment, that could be a trigger. I have no idea who's at my door, and I'm going to ignore that. So we're just going to keep going. I don't know who that is. So if you have a scan coming up, that can be a trigger. Doctor's appointments can be a trigger. Finding out that someone was sick, that they got a reoccurrence can be a huge trigger, like Nolly. But as well, if you go watch her video, go to Nolly.ca, you will see at the end of her video, she is so amazing and talks about the fact that just because she got cancer does not mean you're going to get it again. And just because she has seen people who have died of it does not mean that she's going to die of it. And so I love that she put that in there. Go watch that. But that can be a trigger, is seeing someone like Nali, peace to you, Nali, we're here behind you, get a reoccurrence. That can be a trigger. Having people who you know who have passed from this can be a trigger. Coop Dizzle, my girl, she's studying abroad. There was Fearless Mom, studying abroad. Love you, girl. These amazing women who have studied abroad now. that can be a trigger, though, for many of us to see that we're not invincible. Because I know that as I get better and the further away I get from my cancer, the more I forget. And then I'll get triggered from somebody and it'll be like, oh my God, I could die. So another trigger is having an unexplained side effect, or like all of a sudden a side effect from your cancer. I started getting lymphedema in my arm on vacation, and I proceeded to sob in the bathroom by myself because it just threw me. Another one is unexplainable physical stuff, like a cough, like Nally had a cough. Coop Dizzle, she had a little bit of like a throat thing. That could be a trigger. So write down below if you know what your triggers are. Like, what are your triggers? Share your triggers. So knowing those is your first step. And try to find those out when you're feeling good. Don't try to find those out when you are in a stressed moment. It's just going to make you a little bit crazier. But when you're feeling good, kind of notice, like, oh, that triggers me. Okay, good to know. So you can kind of prepare for that. You can know ahead of time. So going on from the triggers, moving on to next step is, what is your actual fear? What is your fear? Your fear can be of actually dying. Is your fear of a reoccurrence that you're going to die? Is it going to be financial? How am I going to pay for this? Is it going to be doing chemo again? This fear of that. Amy just talked about, any aches and pains, or hearing people have reoccurrence or scans. Those are her triggers. Exactly. Now, I'd love to hear what your guys' fears are. So if we really dive into knowing what our fears are with this, for me, my fear is, I want to say that I'm not afraid of death. Like, oh, I'm not afraid of death. But I'm afraid of leaving this earth before I'm done with what I'm supposed to do. I'm afraid of wasting my life and not accomplishing things. I'm afraid of leaving my family. Like, I'm afraid for them, about how hard this is going to be for them. That's a fear. So, what are your fears? Know what those fears are. Sometimes saying our fears out loud helps them diminish. And especially if your fear is death. We all face cancer. That's a major fear of death. We've faced it more so than anyone else. We have seen death. A lot of times more than our peers. They haven't experienced death like we have. Fear of suffering. Nora's on here writing in fear of not leaving a legacy. So there is a Tibetan Buddhist book, the Tibetan Book on Living and Dying, and they talk about death and how in the U.S. we have this fear of death, as if we talk about it, it will somehow bring it onto us, like we're wishing it upon ourselves. But I have found that the more I talk about death with friends, the more I talk about how I would like to pass, the more I talk about the fact that every inhalation we take and every exhalation is its own miniature death, that we become more comfortable with it, and it actually relieves some of that fear. Christina just said that fear of not seeing my teenage daughters graduate high school. That is a legitimate fear. So us saying these out loud can help us get through them, can help us know that we're not alone in this. And there's this quote that I really love from the Dalai Lama. I'm going to completely mangle. I'm going to shrink it down. But the quote is, he talks about worry. And his saying is that if you can do something about it, there's no reason to worry. And if you can't do anything about it, then why worry? So looking at our cancer, the fear of reoccurrence, if we can't do anything about it, then don't worry about it. And I know that's way easier said than done, but if we can do something about it, then we need to do something about it. And that's going to bring me to my next point, which is having a plan for coping. Now you can actually have a strategy for coping, and each one of these triggers can have a different coping plan. Okay, so I'm going, this is from Northwestern Medicine. This is what they gave, plans for coping. So one is, okay, you have a medical appointment coming up. That was a fear for people. Scans, right? I know, huge fear. So a way to cope with that is pleasurable or relaxing, distracting activities. For me, I would do dance parties at the doctor's, and I'd film them and I'd put them on the internet. So while I was waiting, instead of worrying, I'd be dancing like a weirdo. That really helped relax me at doctor's appointments and at scans. It let me laugh. I brought a friend with me and we would just laugh. Another one that really helps, especially breast cancer peeps out there, is during one appointment, I used my scars and I drew smiley faces. I drew eyeballs and let the scar be a smiley face so that when my doctor opened up my robe to do my exam, two smiley faces looking back at him. Now his response was, "Did you do this?" And I'm like, who else would have done it? It's my boobs. But that one really helped relieve some of my stress because I was just waiting for him to come in and see my smiley-faced boobs. So that one, I'd love to hear what your guys, how do you cope with the scans and doctor's appointments? Do you have a text messaging group where you message a friend who understands this? That might be yours. All right, next, going on to concerns concerning symptoms. So like, you end up getting a cough, you end up getting a weird belly ache. And all of us think every time we have something like that, it's like, oh, I have cancer again. Like, we just can't help it. And don't go on to Google, all right? Do not go on to WebMD, because it's going to tell you have cancer. Don't go there, okay? Best course of action is problem solving. Call your doctor, make an appointment. If you are worried, call your doctor, make an appointment. And go and seek their appropriate professional medical advice. And if nothing is wrong, then okay, you spent your money on a copay. But the peace of mind that you'll get afterwards will be huge. So if you are concerned about a symptom, go and get it checked. That will help you deal with your coping. Hyrule just said WebMD is horrible. WebMD is horrible, all right? It's horrible. Don't go on there. So, yes, so no, like, go and get your symptoms checked by a doctor. Next, hearing that somebody had a reoccurrence or that somebody passed away from cancer. Those are big ones, and those have been happening a lot in our community. The best way to deal with that one is to talk about it. Join a support group if you need. You can join Cancer Grad's Community Quad if you want. It's a private Facebook group. We have it as a safe place for you to talk to other cancer students and cancer grads. So feel free to go and put a request in. We'll let you in. You can talk to a friend who's understanding. Just voicing your concerns really helps. Really, really helps. Saying it out loud. And then another trigger, going to what Northwestern Medicine said, another trigger and a plan for it is special events reminders. So the reminder of your cancer, diagnosis. For me, a big trigger is the day my mom passed away from cancer. That one, I get depressed for like the week before. And that, the way they say to really help with that is to practice gratitude. To be thankful that you are here, to be thankful for, the sunrise, to be thankful for something simple, tangible, can really help. Being around other people can really help for those dates. And those can surprise you. Those I find are the ones that you don't expect until you're like, I just feel really bad, I don't know why. Check the calendar and then go talk to a friend. So now, with that, I'm going to go into the fact that sometimes you just still feel really freaked out. Like, let me know if you guys still just really feel freaked out at times. Because if that's the case, I know that happened with me, with my mom. After my mom passed from cancer, I stopped eating. I would lay on a couch and binge watch, shameless, for 3 months almost, and I just didn't eat. And I ended up finally going to therapy. I called up a therapist. I realized that therapy was what I needed. And so I highly recommend, if you are still finding that you are not being able to plan for the future, get things done that you're supposed to be getting done. If you are having trouble with your relationships with this, therapy can really help. And so I finally got off that couch after my mom died, realizing that like I lost all this weight, had not been eating, and I called up a therapist and made an appointment. And the moment I made that appointment, I felt better. And I was like, I guess I don't need to go to therapy now. Which I still went to therapy, but just asking for help, actually getting to that point and asking for the help, professional help that wasn't going to judge me, that wasn't going to give me platitudes, instantly made me feel better. Instantly, I felt a great deal better. So I highly recommend, if you're really still having trouble with this, go to a therapist, go to a support group. You know, those things can really, really help you through this. And then the other part is really knowing what your risks are. People who have a higher risk of fear of reoccurrence, this fear, are women over men. More women have this fear than men. And this is from Northwestern's medicines, like their thing. They're saying more women out of men have a fear of it. If we were diagnosed young, we actually have a greater fear of reoccurrence. Probably because we're going to live a long time. And so we're really afraid that this is going to come back. And then being undereducated about what your specific risks are and what the reoccurrence could look like. So with that, talk to your doctor, because everybody's case is different. So talk to your doctor. What is your specific risk for reoccurrence? What are normal symptoms of a reoccurrence? If you get this information, you can be better prepared. And that way we don't go off in our brains and think the worst. Because what's in here in my brain, I'm going to go to the craziest thing. I'm going to go to the worst possible idea of everything is cancer. So talk to your doctors about that. Be educated. Be educated about your specific cancer, okay? Your cancer is unique to you. So learn what your recurrence would look like if you ever got it, okay? And then with that, I also want to talk about, there's that mindset. You know, we look in the mirror and we're like, I'm going to be fine. Everything's fine. Here's the book by Daniel Pink. I think it's like Human to Sell. And in that, he talks about how affirmations, just positive affirmations, don't really work. That being like, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm healthy, I'm going to be wonderful, doesn't work. It actually, especially for us going through something like this, can make us feel way worse because we're lying to ourselves. And your mind is like, yo, you're lying to me. You're the one person who's supposed to be honest with me, and you're lying to me because I am scared, and you're pretending that I'm not. So a better way of doing this is when you go and look in the mirror, like if you're still with those affirmations, but look in the mirror and instead you ask yourself, can I be okay? Can I make it through this? Because if you've already gone through cancer once, yes, it can freak you out, the idea of going through it again. But if you ask yourself, can I do this? You did it once. You did it. And so yeah, you can do it again. And you can look at like, well, how did I get through this? Well, love and support, and you know, you can go and grasp all of these things that helped. So know that yeah, you made it through once. You can do this again. Okay, you can do this again if it happens, and it might never happen. All right. Now, this last one, I have a quick thing because this was Nora. Nora was like, you need to talk about this. Let me get to our .com. Cheerleaders. Talking to our cheerleaders. We love you, cheerleaders. You're amazing. Our cancer cheerleaders are absolutely fantastic. But sometimes the people who are around us to support us who have never had cancer say the worst things. All right? Say the worst, absolute worst things. And you guys can actually, if you want to write some of the worst things you've heard from a cancer supporter, one of your supporters, I'd love to hear them. But so this is from Nora. This was like, Nora's like, you have to talk about this. And Nora's our co-founder. One person said some other doctor wants them to do more genetic counseling. That does help a lot. Genetic counseling, knowing your risk, helps a ton. And Pauline said she's so grateful that I still have a long time to go. You do, yes. Shit, yeah, we all have a long time to go. Okay, so here's the things for our cancer cheerleaders, auditors, people who are supporting us, not to say to us, please. All right, we love you. We're glad you support us. But don't say, you'll be fine. All right, you don't know. You don't know. I hated when people told me, you'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. It felt like, as Nora puts it, a platitude. You are dismissing our fears and our feelings. Allow us to say we're scared. And that's okay. It's okay to just say we're scared. You don't have to offer us advice, medical advice, health advice, emotional advice. You don't need to offer it. That's not actually what we're asking for. Amy just said, don't stop saying, stop thinking about it. Yeah, because that always works. Stop thinking about it. Oh, great, thanks. I super did not know that was an option. I'm just going to do that now. I'm so going to not talk about it, not think about it. Those aren't real pieces of advice, all right? All we really want you to do is... Well, going on back onto one more of my don't say is don't ask for details. Like, don't ask for details about what's going on unless we ask you. Like, unless we're like, we want to share the details. Like, don't give advice unless we ask you for advice. Respect our privacy. Yes, we might have shared. Nolly, going back to Nolly, which I definitely say everyone go support her. She's incredible. She needs our love and support through this time of her reoccurrence. But she wonderfully shared, she goes, don't ask me details. I don't like it. And I appreciated her saying that out loud. Because what happens is everyone asks you and you end up having to repeat yourself over and over again. So there's that. Or you might want to be private about it, which is okay. You might want to share, hey, I have this problem, but you not want to go into the details of it. That's okay. You have every right to not share that stuff. So don't ask. Don't ask for the details. Don't get curious in that, like, so what happened? What we do want you to do, though, I'm not going to give you all this, like, don't do and not tell you what to do, because we love you guys. We need you. We definitely need you. You help carry some of our course load for cancer. You help carry this. So something you can say is, a lot of people say, praying for you and follow through, keep checking in. Whether it's spirituality and prayer is your thing, or whether it's positive energy, great. Share that. Say, I'm sharing this, I'm sending this. Crystal just said 2 days before my mastectomy, my mother said I wasn't positive enough. Yep, that's, don't say that to somebody. Don't say that to somebody. We're allowed to feel all the feelings, all right? We don't have to just be that smiling cancer patient. We can't be. It's not healthy for us. So when we start to express negative emotions or negative feelings, the best way to help us is not to give us advice, but to sit with us, to listen, to say, I'm scared too. That's got to be really hard. I'm sorry. Those are good ones. Another one is to actually show up, follow through, bring a meal by. Don't ask us a bunch of questions to say, hey, are you allergic to anything? Okay, I'm bringing this. On Wednesday night, I'm bringing you dinner. And then come over, drop off dinner, unload somebody's dishwasher, and go home. That's it. Those things. Another one that Nora said really helped her, that some people did when they were writing her, because you are given have a ton of messages, just cancer cheerleaders, like, we love you, but tons of people reach out to us. So one that Nora really loved was writing at the beginning, no need to respond, and then say your message, thinking of you, love you, etc., etc. No need to respond. So it takes the burden off of the person who's going through this to have to write you back and not feel like a flake. So that's really, really helpful when helping support someone who is having a fear of reoccurrence or having a reoccurrence. So those are our tips. If you guys want us to dive more into this, we can always have a fear of recurrence dose. But those are our tips for dealing with your anxiety and self-care, guys. Jogging, yoga, meditation, eating better, sleeping fully. Those actually really do help. I know they're like such cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. They help. You'll notice if you haven't been doing them that you're feeling a little worse than usual. So that's it. I love you guys bunches. Go sign up for our Cancer Grad Community Quad if you want to join a support group online. We are a young little support group, but we're trying to. So it's intimate. There's about less than 100 of us, so it's nice. We all get to kind of know each other and share, which is amazing. Also, if you want t-shirts, you can go to cancergrad.org, to our school store, and you can grab your own. And go and give some love to Nalie, NALIE.ca. Go give her love through this new part of her journey as she just entered into metastatic breast cancer. So we absolutely love you, Nalie. Sending you tons of support. And if there's any other topics you guys want us to hit, write them down, send us messages. We're here. Nora and I are super here for you. Next week's topic is, when is it okay to give up? I know. I like to dive into the stuff that's super uncomfortable, and I'm going to get real raw with that one because my mom chose to go into hospice and chose when she was finished with her cancer. So I'm going to talk about that. All right. See you all next Wednesday for Wisdom Wednesdays. Mwah! Peace out. Cancer Grad.